Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos reveals why Keith got first rose. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos is opening up and revealing why she chose to give Keith Gordon her first impression rose. There's no doubt she had a ton of good men to choose from. So what made her choose him over everyone else? Keep reading to find out what Joan had to say. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos shares why she gave Keith first rose. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos is one lucky lady. She has so many adorable men to choose from. Of course, Bachelor fans know that sadly the first impression rose can only go to one lucky man. Fans saw Joan give her first impression rose to Keith Gordon. They even shared a kiss. So, why did she choose him above everybody else? She spoke with Bachelor Nation and gave them the scoop. Overall, Joan shared that she chose Keith because of how he made her feel. She went on to say that Keith's entrance was great. He showed up in an old station wagon with luggage attached to the top of the car. However, it wasn't the entrance that intrigued her, although it did remind her of her own childhood. Joan said that she remembers sitting with Keith on the hood of the car and talking. At that moment, she felt very comfortable, and it was an easy conversation. She said, "I remember as our time was coming to an end, it was time for the next car to come in. He was like, 'Let's just get out of here. Let's grab a wine and some cheese and go sit on a blanket on the beach.' And I was just like, ah, that's exactly what I'd like to do. That would feel so good right now." Joan continued to explain by saying, "And then I got to talk to him inside and just kept getting a feeling of comfort and being safe, and he's just like this big teddy bear kind of guy. So it was way more about how I felt when I was with him than his cool entrance. I gave him the rose because he made me feel safe and comfortable." Everyone seemed to like Keith. Joan Vassos liked Keith Gordon, and it seems a lot of viewers do too. Keith is from San Jose, California, and is 62 years old. He is a girl dad and is ready to find someone to share his life with. He made quite the impression on night one. How long will he stick around? Fans will have to tune in on Wednesday nights to find out. As Joan Vassos stood under the glow of the chandeliers in the stately mansion, all eyes were on her. In her shimmering gown, the 60-year-old widow looked like a vision of elegance, grace, and wisdom. But beyond the glitz of the Golden Bachelorette spotlight, her heart was racing. She had faced love before, navigated the ebbs and flows of life, and weathered the storms of loss. Now, with a second chance at love, she was determined to find someone who could meet her where she was, someone who understood the depth of life, someone she could trust with her heart. As the men filed in one by one, each with a hopeful smile and a story to tell, Joan kept her emotions in check. She greeted each with warmth, listening to their tales of grand adventures, broken dreams, and their desires for a future filled with love. But one man, in particular, stood out for the moment he walked through the door: Keith. From the outside, Keith was a silver-haired charmer, a former firefighter who carried himself with the rugged confidence of someone who had saved lives and stared down danger. But it wasn't his accolades or his well-toned frame that drew Joan in, it was something deeper. There was a quiet strength in Keith's eyes, a vulnerability that resonated with Joan in a way she hadn't expected. Their first conversation was simple, but it was in that simplicity that Joan found herself unexpectedly at ease. They stood off to the side of the bustling cocktail party, away from the cameras and the loud laughter of the other contestants. Keith, dressed in a tailored navy suit, offered Joan a genuine smile as he took a sip of his drink. "So Joan," he began, his voice calm and steady, "what are you really looking for in this experience? Not just the fluff and the fairy tale ending. What do you want out of this?" It was a bold question, one that caught Joan off guard, but it was also exactly what she needed. She had been through so much in her life, and what she craved was authenticity, not shallow gestures or empty promises. "I want someone who understands what it means to go through life's hardest moments," Joan replied, her voice soft but firm. Someone who's not afraid to be vulnerable. I've lost people I love deeply, and I've found strength in that loss. I want to share that with someone who gets it. Keith nodded, his expression thoughtful. I get that, he said after a moment. I lost my wife 5 years ago. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. But it also taught me that life is precious and love, real love, is worth fighting for. I'm not here for games. I'm here because I want to build something real too. It was in that moment that Joan felt the connection spark between them. Keith wasn't trying to impress her with grand gestures or flashy words. He was simply being himself, raw, honest, and open. And that, more than anything, was what Joan was searching for. Throughout the evening, Joan found herself thinking back to her conversation with Keith. She danced with a few of the other men, laughed at their jokes, and tried to give each one a fair chance. But in the back of her mind, she kept returning to Keith's words. There was something about the way he carried himself, the way he looked at her, not with the superficial admiration that many of the other men had shown, but with a genuine curiosity and respect. As the night drew to a close and Joan was handed the symbolic first rose, she took a deep breath. This was her moment to set the tone for the journey ahead. The producers had hinted that she should pick someone who would make a big splash, someone who would keep viewers hooked. But Joan wasn't interested in playing to the cameras. She was here for her own reasons. As she stood before the remaining men, she locked eyes with Keith. His expression was calm, but there was a flicker of hope in his gaze. Joan's heart swelled with emotion. She could feel the weight of her decision, the significance of giving someone the first rose. It wasn't just a rose, it was a statement. It was the beginning of a story she hoped would unfold into something meaningful. Keith, she said, her voice steady, but warm, will you accept this rose? Keith smiled, his face softening with relief. I'd be honored, he replied, stepping forward to take the rose from her hand. In that moment, Joan knew she had made the right choice. Keith wasn't just another contestant vying for her attention. He was someone who understood her, who had walked a similar path of loss and love, and who was ready to embark on this new journey with her. Later, when Joan was asked why she had chosen Keith for the first rose, her answer was simple but profound. There was a calmness about him, a sincerity that I couldn't ignore, she explained. He didn't try to sell me a dream or dazzle me with fancy words. He was just himself, honest, open, and real. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. Someone who's ready to build something authentic, with all the highs and lows that come with it. I see that potential with Keith. For Joan, that first rose wasn't just about starting her journey with Keith. It was about setting the tone for the entire experience. She wasn't here to be swept off her feet by surface-level charm. She wanted something deeper, something lasting. And in Keith, she saw the first glimmer of that possibility. As the season of the Golden Bachelorette unfolded, Joan and Keith's connection would continue to grow. But that first rose, the one she gave to Keith, was more than just a symbol. It was the start of something real, something built on a foundation of mutual respect, shared experiences, and a hope for a brighter future together.